Okay, Denise Calderon Sorkis now is her name. Denise was a client of Stephen Humphrey's, but she is one of the, roughly 9 or so major players in this whole corruption thing that's going on right now. And she sent me a letter today and asked me if I would read it because it kind of explains what's happened to her. It says, Denise, who worked for the chancellor at UNC Chapel Hill and a vice president at Mercer University, returned home to Macon in 1993 with her 3 young children during the terminal illness of her husband, a Navy Seabee who died from exposure to Agent Orange. Denise worked in the office of the president of Middle Georgia State College, formerly Macon State College, for 15 years. After request to her from the college president for over 3 years to falsify documents, including his leave reports, Denise submitted in writing her objection to falsifying the documents on 24th of September 2008. Just 9 days later, she was terminated. Denise subsequently lost her home to foreclosure and filed bankruptcy. Stephen filed a Rule 60 motion asking the court to vacate the summary judgment in favor of the Board of Regents. Given the court had not even addressed the evidence, in fact, the ruling stated it was ignored the whistleblower facts in her case. The motion was denied. To top it off, Denise filed 4 motions asking Fulton County Superior Court Judge Doris L. Downs to lift the protective orders which seal the majority of the evidence confirmed in depositions, affidavits, and discovery documents from public view. Judge Downs denied all 4 of Denise's motions following Attorney General Sam Olin's filing for 4 responses in opposition to government transparency. 1 serious RICO violation was discovered in the deposition of Regent Doreen Poinevent in Denise's whistleblower case. Regent Poinevent confirmed repeatedly that appeals submitted to the Board of Regents by faculty, staff, and students from 30 University System of Georgia public colleges are never even read by the Board of Regents organization and the law committee as they are fraudulently made to believe. This racketeering practice alone is enough reason for Governor Deal to appoint a special investigator as it negatively impacts Georgia families statewide. Denise's family is simply one example of many more. Sabrina's going to share some more, and then if Stephen right now, let me tell you what's happened. He was on a plane from France, so he is either, we think he touched down, we think he's on the ground, but he could be in customs. And if any of you all have ever been through customs here, he may be a little late. If he doesn't show up, we have a really good video of him to show you. This is going to blow you away. I've got his credentials and stuff. I'll show you, get you that. But right now, I'm going to bring up Sabrina Smith. A lot of you know Sabrina. Sabrina's been here before. She is awesome. Georgia Watchdogs. Sabrina is just off the wall awesome. She really is. So this is yours.
Thank you for having me here tonight. Jack had asked me to come over and talk about some of the things that have occurred recently, and it has an impact on everybody in the state of Georgia, particularly those of you who keep up with what's going on and are interested in good government. I was out of pocket for about 2 months with family issues. It's amazing how sometimes family can interfere with our political activities, right? But I was out of pocket for 2 months, and I was glad to finally be able to have time to go to meetings again and start working on some of these issues. And the first meeting I went to was at the United Tea Party meeting in Cumming, Georgia on May the 4th, so last month. And the speaker was Sam Olens. So I was sitting in the audience, innocently listening to what everybody else had to say, and Dallas Hamilton, who is the chair of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly of Georgia. If y'all don't know her, you should get to meet her. She's wonderful. She asked Sam a question about the enforcement of Georgia's Open Records Act. Instead of responding to her question, he went into a diatribe, and I was sitting there listening, and he said, this was his answer to her question, There was one lady who filed a suit on her own in Gwinnett County, and she asked in the press why we weren't helping. We actually called her lawyer and said, send us your file so we can review the file and see if we should get involved. And we were told by the lawyer he didn't want our assistance. So I have for years now listened to that individual complaining that my office didn't do anything after she hired a lawyer, and when she overtly, and when her lawyer overtly told me they did not want our participation in that matter. I kind of looked around and I thought, gosh, I think he's talking about me. So I said, Sam, I'm that person in Gwinnett who filed that lawsuit. I filed that lawsuit at the urging of the Attorney General's office. They encouraged me to file that lawsuit because they said they did not have the resources to investigate and pursue it, but they said they had not had a big open records lawsuit since Central Atlanta Progress, that there were multiple violations of the open records law, and that this would give them the opportunity to push back on other violators, not just those in Gwinnett County. So I jumped on my white horse and I ran off thinking, I'm performing a public service. This is what the Attorney General has encouraged me to do. So you can imagine 2 years later when I'm sitting in a meeting and the Attorney General is saying that there's some woman complaining who filed this lawsuit on her own who overtly told me they did not want our participation. So let me give you a little bit of background on what actually happened and why it's important to you. The last time I was here, I was talking about this lawsuit. It was an open records lawsuit in Gwinnett County, and it was related to taxpayer money going into the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce. And their internal documents showed that they were, in their taxpayer-funded arm of the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce, lobbying for T-SPLOST, lobbying against the charter school amendment, and doing a lot of other things. And along with their lobbying, they put in writing that they were going to lobby the judge in the largest tax apportionment lawsuit in the state of Georgia, in Georgia history. So that kind of makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up when you realize that all that's occurring, because all of that's against the law. You cannot use taxpayer money to do those things, and you shouldn't be lobbying a judge at all. And it also turned out that Gwinnett County Public Schools was using education funds in violation of the state constitution to pay the salaries of executives at the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce. And the first time I talked to Sam Olens about that in Lawrenceville, I asked him, can schools use education funds to pay chamber executive salaries? He laughed and said no. I guess he forgot that because that was not his position when he talked last month in coming. What happened in the interim was that after I filed the lawsuit, or just prior to the time that I filed the lawsuit, General Counsel at Georgia Department of Education, Jennifer Hackemeyer, requested a legal opinion from Sam Olens because Georgia Department of Audits had looked at what Gwinnett County Public Schools was doing, and that auditor had determined that what they were doing did not appear to be in compliance with Georgia law. So Georgia Department of Audits told the General Counsel at Department of Education, we recommend that you ask the Attorney General for a legal opinion and take appropriate action against the Gwinnett School Board. So I filed my lawsuit just a couple of weeks after that request for the legal opinion came in, and you can imagine how important it was that we get that legal opinion from the Attorney General's office confirming that what they were doing was illegal. And at the same time, around the same time, another just private citizen in Gwinnett County filed a complaint with SACS, the accreditation agency, because obviously SACS requires that you use funds appropriately. And SACS wrote her back that since the Attorney General had been asked for an opinion, they were going to wait for that legal opinion from the Attorney General and then take appropriate action, if any, depending upon what the Attorney General had to say. So I kept asking, when that legal opinion was going to come about. The news media kept asking. Nancy Badisher, the education reporter of the AJC, asked Olens, and he said that he could not comment because of pending litigation. Because remember, I was performing this public service by running out and filing this open records lawsuit. So he claimed he couldn't comment on it. And this went on for quite some time. There were a lot of other things that occurred. About 8 weeks after I filed my lawsuit, before anything had even occurred, they had a big fundraiser for Sam Olens. All of the Gwinnett Chamber board members and the law firm that was representing them in my open records lawsuit. And I actually even got an invitation to it. I was kind of surprised. I didn't go. I didn't want to contribute. But I talked to a former federal prosecutor, and he said, Sabrina, he said, I'm surprised. He said most state attorney generals would want to avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest, and they have an issue pending before him. Most AGs would not accept campaign contributions under those circumstances. It's not illegal, but a lot of people feel that it's unethical, and it calls into question whether or not there was a conflict of interest there. We continued to wait for that legal opinion, and finally, the Gwinnett bureau chief for WSB-TV asked me about it. I told him we were still waiting for the legal opinion from the Attorney General. So he asked Sam Olens when he was going to issue that legal opinion. And what was Sam's response? He said, we don't issue legal opinions at the request of private citizens. You can imagine my reaction. So I immediately wrote to Sam and I said, Sam, I said, it's been so long, perhaps you've forgotten. I was not the one who requested that legal opinion. It was Department of Education. They are a state agency. They are one of your clients. And so we ended up having a meeting with the General Counsel at Department of Education and Stephen Ritter from the Attorney General's office. And they told me that as soon as that request for a legal opinion had come in, Stephen had given advice, in other words, a legal opinion to Department of Education, but it was covered by attorney-client privilege. The public was not allowed to know. And of course, they had never let us know that that had already occurred. So it was a big secret. So what they're saying is the public is not allowed to know whether it's legal or not what Gwinnett County Public Schools is doing. If it's legal, why would they keep it secret? If it's illegal, why would they keep it secret? I think the public has a right to know. Jennifer Hackemeyer, the General Counsel for Department of Education, said that Department of Education has no legal authority to take any action against Gwinnett County Public Schools. The Attorney General's office put in writing that they saw no violations of the law of which the Attorney General's office could take any action. So they were all saying, we're not going to tell you if it's legal or not, but we have no legal authority to do anything. And Jennifer Hackemeyer said, well, they told us they were using local funds. They told them that. So she took them at their word, and she said, we have no authority to take action if they're using local funds, not state funds. And as I told Jennifer, I said, I'm holding 2 legal opinions from Sam Olens in my hands, and I'm not a lawyer, but I can read. And they both say that Department of Education, this is from Sam Olens with his signature on it, that Department of Education can take action for local funds because it violates the Educational Purposes Clause of the state constitution. And he even outlines what steps Department of Education can take to punish any local school district that uses local funds inappropriately or misappropriates those funds. Gwinnett County, my lawsuit was dismissed, and Sam Olens is complaining to people about this woman in Gwinnett County. And he got in a little deeper when I said, hey Sam, I'm the one who filed that lawsuit. He said, right. And so I asked him, since I'd been waiting 2 years to find out, I thought, here's my opportunity. I said, does it violate the Educational Purposes Clause of the state constitution for Gwinnett County Public Schools to be using education funds to pay chamber executive salaries? And he said, it's hard for me to answer your question even though I would like to, because your lawyer frankly never agreed to share with me the documentation upon which I could base such an opinion. I said, Sam, you did get that information. He said, never received it, ma'am, never received it. Overtly requested it. Stephan overtly requested it. So I love this guy in the audience. He said, hey, would you answer her question as if I posed it to you? I'd like to know what the answer is. And Sam said, I can if you provide me the documentation to see everything, then I would. And he said, I've not been given the data ever to be able to answer a specific question, and when I asked for it, I was told I was not going to receive it. Now think about that for a minute. The state attorney general is saying that a state agency, Department of Education, asked me for a legal opinion, but because Sabrina Smith in Gwinnett County would not give me documents, I couldn't do my job. He didn't need one scrap of paper from me, and then when I told him, I said, the Department of Education gave you the data. They were the ones who asked you for an opinion. He said, we've covered that issue. What I tell a client, I can't disclose like any other lawyer. It's covered by attorney-client privilege. And he went on and he said, my office offered to see all the documents. We were told no. It's really interesting to criticize my office for not taking action when we were not given the documents. We asked for the documents. And I told him that there never should have been a lawsuit, that if he had done his job, if he had enforced the law, there never would have been a reason for a private lawsuit. And he said, I have ethics boundaries. I would like to know what his ethics boundaries are. And one of the great things about this, I know all of you know Nydia Tisdale. I know you've all read about that. She's wonderful. She's brave. She was there videotaping this. So we have it on videotape, and you can see it on the Georgia Watchdogs website. And that's the reason. It's not so much the issues about Gwinnett, the school funding, whatever. It's the fact that our Attorney General is not being honest with the public. He was invited to speak to a Tea Party meeting, and he contradicted himself again and again and made easily disproven statements to the public. That's why it should be a cause for concern for everybody in the state of Georgia if our Attorney General is not being honest with the public, when there was really no reason for him to do that. And there are a lot of other things that are going on behind the scenes. You can get copies of the newsletters. I actually brought hard copies here to everybody tonight that explains a lot of this. You can see it on the website. I encourage all of you to go to the website. Kim and James Strawn have helped and spent a lot of time walking me through some things. You're going to be seeing a lot more things on the Georgia Watchdogs website. But one thing that I would like to mention too, Jack was talking about Stephen Humphreys, and he read the letter from Denise, who was fired from her job because she refused to falsify records. And many of you have met Denise. Some of you have met some of Stephen Humphrey's other clients, such as Dr. Tricoli. He was the president of Georgia Perimeter College. And he was ousted based upon a supposed $25 million deficit that popped up. Some of you may have read about that in the newspaper, and you're thinking, gosh, what happened to $25 million? Why wouldn't the president of that college know what was going on, or what happened to the money? Well, in sworn documents, the state has admitted that there were 2 sets of books at Georgia Perimeter College, and that they withheld the actual real documents from President Tricoli. So he was getting financial statements showing that they actually had a surplus, when in fact there was a deficit. They blamed him, they fired him, it was in the newspaper everywhere, and they destroyed his career because they weren't content just for him to lose his job. They actually followed him around the country to interviews, put information out on blogs through the internet, destroying his reputation. And many of you are familiar with some of the issues that occurred there. And just as in my lawsuit, after I filed the lawsuit that Sam forgot about, after I filed the lawsuit, Sam told reporters that he was going to review that, make a determination about the legality of the Gwinnett County Public School payments to the chamber. To this day, they're still taking place. They're still making those payments to the chamber because no one is going to challenge them. No one's going to stop them from doing it. And at Georgia Perimeter College, there's still $19 million that's unaccounted for. And the Attorney General, though he told the press that he was going to investigate, he didn't. They investigated themselves. How well do you think that works out? If you were caught robbing a bank, do you think that the police and the district attorney would let you investigate yourself to see if you did it or not? They let Georgia, if you're guilty, you bet. At Georgia Perimeter College, they let them investigate themselves. And even with that, they accounted for $6 million of it, saying that they had made mistakes in their HR department, the way that they were accounting for their benefits. But there's still $19 million missing and no one's looking for it. That's 19 million taxpayer dollars, and these are state and federal dollars missing from Georgia Perimeter College. They've destroyed Dr. Tricoli's reputation and his career. And about 30 days before he was fired, he was voted in his classification the top college president in the country by the American Association of College and University Professors. He had done incredible things in his career. And I've talked to so many students, I've met with them, I've sat down and talked to them who had their lives changed by Dr. Tricoli. He's no longer able to have that kind of impact on students' lives. There are a lot of parents who have come to me and told me with tears in their eyes about the impact that Dr. Tricoli had on their families because of what he did for their kids. But he's no longer there and he's no longer able to do that. And again, there's still $19 million missing. Stephen Humphreys represents Denise, Dr. Tricoli, Dr. Benedict at the University of Georgia, Todd Brandenburg. Todd Brandenburg was a medical technician at Medical College of Georgia. They've since changed the name, but he was at Medical College of Georgia. And he found out that a member of the Board of Regents was selling their product to the Board of Regents in violation of the rules. And so he filed a complaint. Well, big mistake. And they fired him by saying that he told a patient they had stinky feet. That patient has filed an affidavit saying that never happened, but that doesn't matter. The facts don't matter. He lost his home to foreclosure, as Denise did. He could not get another job. They ruined his reputation. His wife divorced him. His life was destroyed. And that's happened to a number of other people who are employed through the Board of Regents too. And as Jack was saying, when he read Denise's letter, they've now admitted that they never even read these appeals from these people who have this happen to them. The Board of Regents just completely ignores all of it in violation of their own board policies. If our Attorney General is not being honest about an open records lawsuit in Gwinnett County, if he's not being honest in representing the state agencies in this Board of Regents lawsuit, and there are a lot of details there that I'm going to let Jack show you in the video if Stephen doesn't get through customs in time. But it will show you that it's not just about our Attorney General looking the other way. It's about our Attorney General actually participating in these alleged crimes. And it's destroying people's lives, it's costing taxpayers money, and this is our Attorney General who ran on a platform of open government. We've got people here in the audience who have been personally harmed by what the Attorney General has done, and I think the public deserves to know. And I'm going to be, now that I'm back to work at Georgia Watchdogs, I'm going to be working all across the state to ensure that people know what happened to you and Dr. Tricoli and a lot of Stephen's other clients and a lot of other people who have been harmed by the fact that our Attorney General is not enforcing the law and in fact is breaking the law. So I'm going to let you start with the video. If Stephen comes in, we'll let him take over. But I would love for you to hear this story. I've heard it again and again for the last 2 years, and it's mesmerizing. And I can't take my eyes off it every time I hear it.
My name is Stephen Humphreys, and I am an attorney from Athens, Georgia, originally an intellectual property attorney and involuntarily became a corruption in government attorney. And I appreciate your being here. If you're watching this video, it means that you're somebody who cares about good government in Georgia. I'm here because I saw things that I simply could not walk away from and leave alone as an attorney. When I am explaining these cases to groups like this or presenting them in court, I frequently run into the objection and resistance that this is simply not believable. It's not believable that state officials would knowingly falsify a college budget report in order to harm the president, or that the Attorney General of Georgia would knowingly call a witness to give false testimony to revoke a professor's tenure using evidence they knew was criminally manufactured while the real evidence had been hidden. And that is not it's not believable. The only problem is it is true. It is completely documented that it happened. That the Attorney General had withheld documents, that the Attorney General had called witnesses to give testimony that the witness and the Attorney General both knew was false, which is otherwise known as perjury, that the Attorney General was suborning perjury, that that University of Georgia officials would be impersonating UGA students in order to create a false paper trail, that a dean at the University of Georgia would log on to a computer database in the name of a UGA student in order to create a false record to be used against a professor to destroy his career. I could not believe it myself. And that's exactly why I could not walk away from it when I saw it. So I have gone from being a mild-mannered copyright attorney to now fighting the Attorney General of Georgia and the governor and everybody else. But so be it. I could not believe it, and I could not believe that that is what the Office of the Attorney General of Georgia is supposed to be doing. So the doctrine of sovereign immunity in Georgia has turned into a doctrine of sovereign impunity, where, according to the Attorney General of Georgia, state officials are immune for knowingly committing crimes.
I just wanted to give one example. There are newsletters in the back. Please pick one up. We've got 3 newsletters, a couple of legal opinions from the Attorney General. They're free on the back table. They're also on the website. But let me just read something to you that a lawyer in Gwinnett County said to me, a member of the Georgia Bar. We met at the courthouse, ironically. This is a direct quote from him. He said, "You're not recording this, are you?" All of you who know me know I love records, right? He said, "You're not recording this, are you?" "Well, I don't care if you are. That's okay. I'm not worried about that." Gave me permission, right? But I'm just telling you this, and this is just to help you. Don't you love people who try to help you? He said, "This is my best advice to you. Do not talk to the FBI." And I've redacted some of this. He said, "I'm just telling you this from my past experience. I hate the FBI. I wonder why. No good is ever going to come out of talking to them. Do not talk to them. I'm telling you that you are going to get indicted. I don't know for what, but I'm telling you this, and it's just a help. Do not talk to them. Do not meet with them. I'm telling you, the feds have a seat on the bus with your name on it, and they will indict you. It doesn't matter that you haven't done anything. They will indict everyone and sort it out later. You are going to get arrested. You should stop and not say one word to anyone." Now, that's what this wonderful, esteemed member of the Georgia Bar said to me.
What was her name?
I'd be happy to give you that at the right time. But this is just what occurred in Gwinnett. I'm a private citizen. I don't have any official capacity. I just file open records requests. What has happened to other people across the state who file open records requests is much, much worse. This is nothing compared to what's happened to other people. And I actually lay it at the feet of our Attorney General because he does not enforce the open records laws. So people feel free to threaten people like me who file open records requests. They feel free to call people like Linda Pittman in Union County at public meetings on video, bitch, scumbag, and misfit, among other things. In Cobb County, where we are, Tim Lee violated the open records law by using the Chamber of Commerce email, exactly, to violate the open records law. Have any of you heard a peep out of the Attorney General about that? In Paulding County, private citizens have had to engage the former Attorney General, Mike Bowers, to defend them in an open records case. Not one word from our Attorney General. So our Attorney General, who campaigned on a platform of open government, is doing anything but promoting open government.